My friend of 13 years confessed his love for me, and I'm livid.
Oh no, you ruined the friendship.
Oh, you've gone and ruined it.
It all.
You're ruining it. Oh,
Bummer.
bugger. Backstory. I met my friend Tom my freshman year of high school. He was a year older than me, but we were in a class together due to it being a mixed grade class. I found out we had a few mutual friends, and we ended up in the same social circles and at events/parties together, so a friendship formed between us. And by the way, this comes from user Unwanted Confession, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK storytime subreddit. So, Tom has always been there for me, and I thought he was a solid friend. When I was in a bad relationship, he was one of the few people who believed me when I told them about things my ex had done.
Of course he did.
Of course he did. And
he was like, yeah, of course he's terrible. You should leave him.
You should leave him for me, Tom. When I told him about the things that my ex had done, and in a few cases, he even protected me from him. After that relationship ended, 3 days later, he asked me out, but I told him I only saw him as a friend. He said he respected that and never brought it up again. I foolishly thought that was the end of that.
Yeah, man.
After high school, he was one of the few people I stayed in contact with occasional texting. A few years passed and we ended up seeing more of each other because we were doing a personal development/business mentorship group together. He now admittedly only joined because I was doing it. During this, I was seriously dating someone at the time who I eventually got engaged to and married.
Congrats.
Tom was even invited to the wedding, but never RSVP'd. A few years later, we started spending more time together again because of D&D. I had an open spot in my game and knew he still played, so I invited him. Because Tom doesn't drive, and the D&D games would end after the buses stopped working for the night, I would drive him home.
No.
I enjoyed our long talks about various topics. Unfortunately, the D&D group dissolved because of my own and one other divorce within the group. Plus, another person moved a few cities away and understandably didn't want to make the 2-hour drive. Due to events that followed my divorce, I went no contact with all but one brother in my family, which is a long story in itself. My then boyfriend, now fiance, and I are long distance, so whenever I would go through depressive episodes or drama happened with my family, Tom was one of those friends who I could call to be there. Hell, he even helped my fiance with a writing project he was working on, and they talked outside of me being involved. My fiance considered him to be a friend because we're adults and lead busy lives. Without playing D&D, our friendship settled into texting each other once every few months to catch up. Sometimes even grabbing dinner. We either always split the tab, or it was a you get this one, I'll get the next one deal. Also, before anyone screams that this seems one-sided, while Tom has been there for me, I've been there for him too. I would always listen to his job or relationship stress. I was one of the few people to accept his decision to leave the religion we grew up in. I was there through mental health struggles, and I even voiced some concern over his substance consumption. If he didn't have plans to celebrate a birthday, a new job, or any other accomplishment, I would be there. When I had an extra Comic-Con pass, I invited him.
Nice. Wow.
I did these things because that's what friends do in my book. And now we move on to the events in question.
Oh, no.
I really want to know what happened in that D&D session.
Oh, no.
Yeah. That would be nice to get the scoop. Anyway,
Love and Dragons.
Tom popped into my head the other day, and it was a mental note to text him to catch up when I had some time this week. He ended up beating me to it and texted me yesterday when I was doing a virtual date night with my fiance. Opening the message made me concerned. He started the message with, "Hey OP, hope you're doing well." Odd. We usually just message each other like our previous conversation never stopped. Or if there's a greeting, we say something along the lines of, "You popped into my head." He goes on to say he had an email he wanted to send me and was double checking to see if he had the right email address.
No.
Sending you the email confession is wild.
Sorry, that was my friend.
He sends send this to 10 people or you're cursed.
Yeah.
I'm in love with you.
Send your confession to the one who sent you their confession, or else 1,000-year curse, 1,000-year curse upon you.
Sorry, my friend sent that, but he goes to another school, so you don't know him.
Yeah, you don't know him. It wasn't me. Sorry, my brother hacked into my account.
Now, I'm no stranger to the warning signs of someone planning to self-delete, and I immediately had warning bells going off. since I was on a video call with my fiance and let him know my concerns and that I might need to cut our time short in case the worst was about to happen. Even he was concerned with how Tom was acting and said to keep him updated. I get the email and read through it. The start of the letter was oddly formal, and looking back on the entire thing again, it's weirdly romanticized. Think Mr. Darcy and his letter to Elizabeth in Pride and Prejudice. He says how he appreciates our friendship and how much of a big impact I've made in his life. He let me know that he is seeking help for his alcoholism and went back to the religion that he left. I have since left it. Reading through the first bit, it felt like a step towards AA or born again Christian stuff, which is okay, and that's cool. I'm glad he's headed in a direction he likes. I don't see why this has to be an email. He then pivots into saying how much he regrets it every time he thinks about how he didn't speak up, that he didn't like my ex-husband from the get-go because he felt he was bad news, which he ended up being, because he thinks if he had spoken up, he could have saved me a lot of heartache.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, dude, where's this going?
So like if I had spoken up, I could have married you.
Essentially, yes.
I could have saved you.
Could have been me.
Where are you? Something all the spiders. You're married to a spider. If I would have said it earlier, you'd be fine. You could have married me anyway. Oh. Okay, dude. Where is this going? Especially with just recently announcing my engagement last month, I'm thinking this is going to turn into him telling me he hates my fiance. But then he takes a left turn, and here comes the big whammy of how much he cares about me. And this is not just a simple confession, but a bold statement of his love for me. How every time over the years when he said he cared about me, he should have used the actual word he meant, love. How incredible he thinks I am, how I've made it into his journal entries often, and how he'll always be there if I ever need him no matter what. It doesn't matter if I'm married or single, sick or healthy, happy or sad, blah, 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 blah. I set my phone down. What the did I just read? I told my fiance the context of the email, and talking it over, I somehow convinced myself that Tom meant a brotherly, sisterly kind of love. My fiance needed to head to bed for the night, but he encouraged me to double check just in case. We said goodnight, and I honestly disassociated the rest of the afternoon. I texted Tom that evening, saying that I was happy he was seeking help with his alcoholism and found a place in religion he's happy with, and asked what he meant by love. He said he's trying to and hope to work towards a platonic love, but that's not what he meant. He apologized for any awkwardness it might cause, but he had to get this off his chest because it was making him lose sleep, and it's been haunting him for a while. He even said he talked it over with several people and knew he had to confront his feelings. I told him, in fact, this was awkward and complicated, and how I'll be letting my fiance know about his clarifications. I was then met with what felt like a passive-aggressive, and I'm paraphrasing slightly, "You can if you want, or we can go back to the friendship we had, but you do what you gotta do."
Dude, you ruined that. You ruined that friendship.
You took the genie out the bottle.
Blaming that on freaking OP?
I'm going to quote Kelly Inspiration right now. Some words are like venom. When they are released, there's no putting it back. Can't put the venom back in the snake.
Pandora's box, my
Once
guy.
the venom's out of the snake, you can't put the venom back.
You gotta suck it.
Now all you can do is suck the venom out.
Someone has to suck.
I didn't respond and went to bed for the night. This morning, after thinking it through, I texted him that I needed time to gather some thoughts, and I need him to respect that. Right now, I'm just angry, and I need to explore what this feeling is telling me. After that, he backpedaled, saying he was just about to text me and said we should lose each other's numbers and disconnect. How he's been mad at me for years, and how he's done with everything, and that our friendship should end here. Hold up. You just sent a lengthy email to me boldly declaring your love and how you'll always be there, but now that I've stated I'm upset, you've actually been mad at me for years and don't want me in your life anymore. Sounds like someone had an idealized version of me that was placed on a pedestal, and when I wasn't overly enthusiastic about his feelings, he was running away from the consequences because he didn't get the response that he wanted. It felt like the nice guy, well, actually, you're fat and ugly, when they get rejected. I tried to reply as maturely as possible, but I'll admit a little bit of anger seeped out into my next message. I told him I would respect his boundary if he wanted to end contact, but that he was being a coward to emotionally hit and run me like this. I explained to him how I wanted to process what I was feeling because anger is a symptom of a deeper emotion, and I didn't want to lash out and harm a relationship I still valued. He had already talked to multiple people about this and was able to process everything. I've had less than 24 hours to process, and it was unfair and one-sided of him to not give me the chance to do so. I told him I would respond to his email once I had done so, But if he decided to block my email address before I sent it, that was up to him. He said he would wait for me to respond. Now I'm trying to figure out what I'm feeling. I've always cared, and even to some extent loved him, but like a brother and a friend. He was my friend. Why?
He was my friend.
He was my friend.
You are my brother, Anakin.
Oh, I was doing a Harry Potter.
I
reference.
knew you were doing Harry Potter.
He was that friend.
Why do guys do this? What did he expect? Oh my God, I didn't realize. Let's run off into the sunset together. Why did he have to tell me? He can have these emotions and not act on them. He can have them and never burden me with them. He can have them and just prefer to see me happy with the man I'm marrying and not go tipping any boats. He's even admitted how much happier I am, and he can tell my fiance and I are completely in love with each other. I don't get it. Just work through them and move on. Or if he really had to tell me, there are healthy ways you can communicate or awkward emotions. Dumping them on someone and then running off when you don't get the response you were hoping for is not one of them.
Nope.
Why did he have to pull this and ruin our friendship? Not to mention, when talking it over with a friend, they pointed out crushes fade and last a year or two at max until you move on. But 13 years? Love?
Yeah, that's wild.
Indeed.
13 years.
That's
A
a
wild
teenager.
man.
That's one that's like obsession, and it's also putting that person on this weird pedestal that like they will never actually live up to in your brain.
13
Or,
years.
you know.
13 years. Yeah, dude, that's crazy.
That's crazy.
That's
man.
more
move
than a
on,
decade,
move
man.
on, man, move on.
Mm-mm-mm.
He's acting like a 13-year-old.
Yeah, it's funny. He's just like
That's-
stunted over there. I literally did that where I was like, I have a crush on you. I really like you. She's like, do you? Because I don't. I was like, yeah, no, I was just kidding.
Oh, that was my friend.
Yeah, no, I was just kidding. You thought I was
Jokes.
serious? Oh my God, dude. You're
Jokes on
what?
you.
Got you. This has been something that has been thought about and given extensive energy to. I keep going over our entire friendship over and over. I treated him like I treat my current friends, but did he mistake my constant friendliness for something else? Was I leading him on? Did I ever do anything to encourage these feelings? Nope. Did I accidentally treat him differently than my other friends? I feel I even feel writing this because it sounds like, oh, boo-hoo, somebody loves and cares for me. But when you compile all of it together, it's really a heaping mess of someone caring for me with a hidden agenda. I feel and I feel so betrayed. In hindsight, I feel like I should have seen that he might have had deeper feelings, but he treated me like he treats all his friends, so how could I know? I thought Tom was a good and solid friend. I trusted him in a lot of things due to our long friendship, but it turned out that basically everything he did was because he romantically loved me. I'm also placed in an awkward spot of feeling crappy because it feels like I was using him, even if it was unknown to me. You weren't, though. I feel like I'm grieving the friend. You have to know you're using someone to be using them.
You weren't using him. You weren't using him.
Right.
He was using you.
You were a genuine friend, and I hate
Yeah.
that because OP thinks that now, like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm
it's like,
the
it
worst
feels like
person.
the friendship,
Yeah.
is tainted.
Ugh. Friend I thought he was. I feel like I lost a friendship, but I guess there wasn't one, or at least not a genuine one. By the way, we have genuine, bona fide, full episodes with stories like this available for your listening pleasure at iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you can listen to podcasts. All you got to do is search OK Storytime, and you've got
51
2,
days.
skip to my Lou, 1,200 plus hours of
51
counting.
stories to listen
freaking
to.
days,
Counting.
man.
We have a little bit more story here. Do you have anything else?
There is this feeling of guilt and blaming yourself, especially when a man acts like this in a relationship, where like in a friendship like this, where you're like, oh, maybe I did lead them on. Maybe I did this and this. And maybe if I had acted like this, I could have prevented this. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. They were making
Nah.
up things in their mind about the relationship.
Yeah. OP said it themselves. So like, oh, you had this pedestal of this
Yep.
like thought of me and
Yeah,
what
just
we
now.
could have been and what
Mhm.
we were in your brain.
Literally,
Yeah.
the only way that you could have let him on is if he said, I want to go out with you. And you said, so do I. And then you went out with him, but didn't
And
like
then-
him.
And you're like,
And then
I
you went
love
out with
you.
him for 13
For 13 years and
years.
didn't like him. And then
Yeah.
told him after 13 years, you were like, actually, I've never liked you. I
Yeah.
don't want to get married.
He was
That
leading
would be
you
leading
on.
on.
He's leading
He
you
was leading
on
you on
that
for
you
friendship.
are his friend. Anyway, so let's finish this story. At first, I thought maybe somehow we could be mature, find common ground, and keep our friendship intact. But now the whole friendship is tarnished. Looking back on every interaction, and I don't know if I can continue being friends with someone who is and has been pining after me for most of our 13-year friendship. Not to mention, after how he acted this morning, I don't think there's ground to stand on. Honestly, I don't know if once I process things, if I'll even email him back. What would I say? You're a butthole for letting me believe you were my friend, but really you had hidden feelings that drove you to pretend to be my friend? At least I have therapy next week, because I certainly know what will be the topic of discussion. It'll be that guy.
But that's the end of that story.
Shoot, yeah, that is the end of that story.